These are the funny cars. In effect, they are short version AA fuel dragsters with plastic bodies, and Don Prudhomme is everywhere today. He owns this car. It'll be driven by Jay Howell, and here Don turns crew member as he pours the solution down for Howell to burn in his tires, heat them up, and move into the starting line area. The funny car is capable of going over 200 miles an hour. It's very light. The bodies are made of plastic. Don Shoemaker has been one of the hot fellows all across the country, match racing and in the national competition as well throughout this year. Shoemaker's car is a Barracuda, and so is the car that Howell will be driving, a Barracuda. And Shoemaker has been very, very steady in all of the competition leading up to the funny car quarterfinals. Buster Couch is the starter. Watch him explode off that starting line. I mean, they leap out of there. Shoemaker at the top end pulls away to a comfortable win, 7.07 seconds, elapsed time better than 210 miles an hour for the winner, Shoemaker. So Don Prudhomme, himself a winner just moments ago, watches his Barracuda lose in the funny car quarterfinals. In case you wonder why these are called funny cars, the reason for that's very simple. A few years ago, when they first came on the scene as an experimental class, the public address announcers called them a funny car. The name stuck. No one's come up with a better one yet. Now we see Bruce Larson and Bobby Wood. That's Bobby Wood, covered up by the smoke as he heats up his tires in a Chevy 2, the red one, and really steaming things up. That Chevy 2 has Chrysler power, incidentally. He'll be running in the near lane, and Bruce Larson and the Camaro will be in the far lane. They're ready to go. And it's Larson in the far lane, the winner, 7.16 seconds, 206 miles an hour. Bobby Wood, 7.22 seconds elapsed time. A close loser. Bruce Larson goes to the semifinals in the funny cars.
There were funny cars, and that's that.
They've got the Ram Chargers fired up.
The Ram Chargers are legendary for building more horsepower than anybody else. The big difference and their big success has come from finally finding some reliability. They would always set low elapsed time, but the engines were like a grenade.
The Hawaiian's ready.
Somebody once said that the Ram Charger's car is like a gun. They put a bullet in it, the bullet's the motor, they shoot it, they put another bullet in it. They've been known to bring a whole truckload of motors and use a motor every run. Incredible guys. Roland Leon could make it 2 in a row. He is the defending champion car owner. Roland did it here in 1966 when he won the Winter Nationals and came back the next year with a different driver and won it again.
From the way they both burned out, they appear to be ready to go.
Boy, are they ready. The burnouts are so hard that the tire smoke has even filled up the cockpit. Butch Moss may be having a little trouble seeing out of that car. Listen to that Ram Charger's motor. Just crisp and clean. Moss hanging in the back, trying to get those extra burn-ins. I would imagine that pretty soon Buster is going to make him come to the starting line.
That was probably what the owner of the car was talking to the starter about. He's got his man working a little extra hard on it.
May very well be. May prove to be a wise move. A good strong burnout can be worth 0.15 of a second sometimes.
And that just could be the difference, the way these two machines have performed.
Both cars are pre-staged. Neither driver wants to stage first. Finally, Goldstein does. Moss moves in behind him, and it's a beautiful start. What a finish.
The Hawaiian.
Roland Leon makes it 2 in a row. The first big win ever for Butch Moss, the first time he drives the car.
Boy, that is almost an Horatio Alger story.
Low elapsed time of the event for funny cars, 6.93 seconds, 212 miles per hour. Here's the replay. You just can't make them any closer than that.
Not hardly.
One car length between them at 400 feet a second.
That is Pat Foster in the red car. He'll be on the outside lane. He has the yellow streak down the side of it against Dale Pulte, also in a red car. Now, both of them are taking their time warming up here. They're going out of the bleach box, cleaning off those tires. Here comes Pat Foster, who had the top qualifying time here. But they're going back and forth quite a bit, and that is cooling off the tires. And if you get too much horsepower and those tires cool up, you might go up in smoke, lose traction. We'll see what happens here. They faced each other just a few weeks ago, and Dale Pulte won that one. Pulte on the inside, Foster on the far lane. There they go, and look at them broke behind Pat Foster. He's going up in smoke, losing traction. Looks like Pulte all the way, and Pulte is the winner. His time, 7.57, 181.08 miles per hour. And once again, it's not the speed at the end of the course that wins, it's the lapse time over the quarter mile. And that's why the start is so desperately important. There's our winner, Dale Pulte, going into the finals. Here's our other semifinal pair. That's Ed McCulloch right there, coming out of the bleach box. He'll be facing Jake Johnston. There's Johnston. Wait a minute, he lost his chute. Both these cars are blue. That's Jake Johnston in the near lane. Now, whether he can run or not, I don't know. They're trying to get, no, they're not going to put it back in. They're just going to take it off. Now, it's the question of whether he can run without a chute or not, because it's quite dangerous. You probably reach 200 miles an hour at the other end. Buster Couch, the starter's asking, can he go? And they're saying, yes, he can. So here we go. Jake Johnson versus Ed McCulloch. And there's a red light on the right-hand side for Jake Johnston. And I believe he breaks down. An easy run for Ed McCulloch. Has to make it. He's the winner in the slow time, naturally saving his car, 7.79. And Jake Johnston broke down. I think it's his rear end. The same thing happened at the Super Nationals last year.
Here's Frank Hall. He hails from Linwood, Washington, one of the rising stars of drag racing. He's matched up against the Motown Shaker. This car from Mount Clemens, Michigan, driven by Al Birchler. You see on the back the parachute pack. The parachute's encased in this aluminized cloth, protecting them from fire. As you saw Mert Littlefield, the fire can billow out underneath the car and damage the parachute. It pops out with a spring-loaded pilot chute and helps slow these cars. They used aircraft-type disc brakes to stop them from their speeds of some 230 miles an hour. Full fire suit, face mask, breathers, and of course the goggles that will be put down before Al Birchler makes his run. They're now approaching the starting line in the center of the track. You see the Christmas tree. We'll talk about this Christmas tree a little bit later in the program. Frank Hall making a correction right there in the middle of the course. As the car started to drift towards the center line, he goes through the quarter mile in 6.72 seconds as a very dejected Al Birchler, as something breaks in the funny car. His lovely wife, Jeannie, in to talk with him. You see the Burnout being made by Cheryl Greer from Warner Robins, Georgia. Having one of his best years ever, Cheryl Greer, a longtime drag racer. He's meeting up against a relative newcomer in the sport, driving Jim Green's Green Elephant from Linwood, Washington. This is Frank Hall. Clouds of smoke covering the track. We're in semifinal or round number 3 action. 4 cars remain. Now just 3. The winner of this to meet Bobby Rowe in the finals. A good start by both cars. But in the middle of the course, you can see it's Frank Hall. An overflow crowd at Amarillo Dragway, thrilled with excitement at the Pro Stock and now Funny Car Finals. There is Frank Hall from Linwood, Washington, and here Bobby Rowe from Fresno, California, the 2 finalists in Funny Car Eliminator, heading for that World Championship title. Over $25,000-$30,000 invested in these fiberglass replicas of today's modern muscle cars. Late model, supercharged, fuel-burning engines, 1,800 horsepower, speeds over 230 miles an hour. The crews edging up to the starting line, watching ever so close every action by both drivers. Starter Buster Couch, intently gazing at the Christmas tree, making sure both drivers are ready. The tree goes green. They leave together. A tremendous race. Bobby Rowe, Frank Hall nearing the center line, but not crossing, and he is there first. A little bit of smoke out of the car, but everything okay. And there you see Frank Hall winning Funny Funny Car Eliminator. He is your Funny Car World Champion from Linwood, Washington, Frank Hall, with a winning time of 6.39 seconds. Bobby Rowe, 100th of a second quicker at a 6:38. His speed, 228 miles an hour.
The Funny Car Eliminations, possibly not the most dangerous, but certainly the most exciting to watch. And this matchup will pit Don Prudhomme of Granada Hills, California, in a 74 CUDA against Charlie Thurwanger of Dallas, Texas, also in a 74 car, this one a Vega.
Without question, Ted, these are the most exciting things to watch in drag racing, as the fiberglass replica bodies give the fan something to cheer for as far as product identification. In this case, the Plymouth Barracuda against the Chevrolet Vega, but also the superstars, Don Prudhomme, involved in this race against Mike Burkhart's Vega, Charlie Thurwanger up in smoke.
Lost the traction, so it'll probably be all for naught in this one as Don Prudhomme crosses the line at 6.42, 215 miles an hour.
Here we see it in slow motion. He gets off the line all right, and right there you see this cloud of smoke billowing out behind, that coming from the tires as they start to spin. He loses traction. Prudhomme not missing a beat, his engine performing magnificently, puts it through the quarter mile at a fine 6.42. Prudhomme has just been dominating funny car action throughout the year thus far.
Ed McCulloch, shown here of Fresno, California, a 74 Dodge Sport. He'll go against Paul Smith of Boynton Beach, Florida. He'll be in the left lane, McCulloch in the right lane.
There we saw a good example of how the mechanics and the driver get in and out of these cars. The body raises up from the front, the engine, the tubular chassis, all the fire equipment, the fire bottles, and you see here the face mask, the breather mask, and the full fire suit required of all the drivers in these funny cars and in many other types of competition cars in NHRA competition.
They also carry bottles of Freon in the car, 2 bottles, one on each side of the engine in case of a fire.
Yes, Ted, these can actually be located in any position. They were located there in this Revolution car of Ed McCulloch on either side of the engine and attached to the chassis, but they are loaded with Freon, and in case of the fire, of engine explosion or fire, the driver just simply hits a button. The Freon is plumbed throughout the body of the car, into the driver's compartment, and also into the engine to extinguish any fire.
Pre-staging lights go on as the drivers inch closer to the starting line. Now we have stage for both cars. And a good start. This should be exceptionally close.
Well, close is hardly the word for it. The win going to Paul Smith at a much slower elapsed time than Ed McCulloch. Must have gotten a much better start. 7 seconds flat to a 6:84 for Ed McCulloch. Here we see a bit of an advantage for Paul Smith. He gets a little bit towards the center line, corrects, comes back in, and it is very close. Anybody's race at this point. You see right there, Paul Smith winning it over Ed McCulloch by less than a fender length.
Back at the starting line, Tom Prock of Utica, New York in a 74 Dodge. He'll be in the right lane.
This is Paul Radici and Wise out of St. Louis, Missouri in the Chevy Vega. And looking in and seeing Radici, the goggles, the fire mask, the breather mask where they can breathe through those filters and the nitro fumes won't bother them at all.
Tremendous concentration at this point.
Really, this is where it is all happening, is at the starting line, and these drivers concentrating completely on getting the best reaction time possible. A good race to this point.
This will be very close.
Some smoke out of the Radici and Wise car. Obviously, the motor giving him some problems. 6:57 for Tom Prock. And let's take a look at this one again in slow motion. They leave the line together. Things look very good at this point, as you can see. And there it is. Something going awry, the smoke starting to come out, meaning the motor is going away. Tom Prock not having a bit of problem. He goes through in Phil Castronova's car.
A name a lot of fans will recognize around the country, Tom McEwen of Fountain Valley, California. He's also known as the Mongoose. Cheryl Greer of Warner Robins, Georgia. He'll be in a 74 Mustang, and McEwen in a 74 Duster.
That Mongoose moniker came from a long-standing rivalry with good friend, by the way, Don Prudhomme. Tom McEwen known as the Mongoose. Prudhomme getting the first label tied on him as the Snake because of his reaction times at the starting line just as quick as a snake. Well, McEwen, not one to let anything go by, decides, well, if Prudhomme is the Snake, then I'm the Mongoose.
And they've had some exciting matches over the years.
Certainly had. Over a decade for each of the drivers. McEwen with a fine start.
Oh, this is going to be very close. And it's going to be McEwen, but just barely.
0.02 of a second slower, but the advantage coming right at the starting line over Sherrill Greer. You also saw Sherrill Greer slowing a little bit, 206 miles an hour. Maybe he thought, and this is something to look for in this slow motion, maybe he thought that McEwen could never catch him, because we'll see here, but it looks like he may be leading going into this point. He is, but McEwen right alongside of him and drives right past him just before the finish line.
Kosti Ivanov of Boston, Massachusetts. He'll be driving a 74 Vega. He'll be in the right lane. Dale Paldy of Van Nuys, California, the left lane in the 74 Pontiac.
That Pontiac is a Grand Am body style. There are a couple of those entered at this Spring Nationals, and a most unique car and with tremendous horsepower out of Mickey Thompson's shop. Dale Paldy up in smoke. The Boston Shaker of Kosti Ivanov, a 661, taking the win easily over a smoking Dale Paldy.
Explaining that once again, you see a lot of smoke like that. There's no traction. The tires aren't adhering to the track. You're not getting any traction. The horsepower is going to waste.
What they're doing, Ted, is just making another burnout, but not at the right time.
Gene Snow, Fort Worth, Texas. He'll be in the left lane. He's an old veteran of this. Don Schumacher, Park Ridge, Illinois, in a 74 Vega, the right lane. A matchup of identical cars.
Fine shot there of Gene Snow inside the car. You can see him inside the roll cage, very similar to the cage design on a Top Fuel dragster. Schumacher, of course, the Revell Super Shoe, the Revell Snowman, Gene Snow. Tremendous start for Snow. Something apparently down on horsepower for Schumacher as Snow streaks to the win to a 667.
And 6.93 for Don Schumacher. Not a very good race at all. Al Segrini of Silver Springs, Maryland, in the left lane. Leroy Goldstein of Mission Viejo, California. He'll be driving a 74 Satellite, a good burnout.
Al Segrini kind of losing himself in the smoke in the right-hand lane, driving for Whipple and Mr. Ed. The name Ed Wills, known amongst funny car racers particularly. He builds a number of the bodies that are used on these cars. Art Whipple, one of the finer mechanics around in the business today. Al Segrini driving this beautiful Black Magic car from Silver Springs, Maryland.
Again, they'll be staging very carefully. Again, the concentration, because in drag racing, it all happens at the line.
The advantage that can be gained at the starting line is in, look at that. Leroy Goldstein going instantly sideways right at the starting line, and Segrini just eases her through.
He slows down. He recorded a 7:05 for that run.
Now look at this. Here you see it in slow motion, almost as if it's on a pivot. I bet he doesn't go 4 feet forward and almost turns the car completely to the right and almost into the guardrail, it looks like. Now he gets it corrected and starts to swing back around. The photographer's moving back as that fiberglass-bodied 1,800 horsepower monster heads right straight for them.
Good reaction time on the photographer's part.
Also good reaction time on the part of Leroy Goldstein. He was headed straight for the guardrail and yet saved any damage to that fiberglass body.
What could have caused that, do you think?
Could have been anything, Ted. Could have been water under the tires, one wheel pulling, the other one not, like you would drive a Caterpillar tractor, something like that. Could be some problems in the differential, also causing it to turn that way.
Now back at the starting line, John Shoemaker of Farmington, Michigan. He'll be in the left lane. Larry Fullerton of Jacksonville, Florida. Fullerton driving a 74 Mustang and Shoemaker a 74 Pontiac.
Fullerton's Trojan Horse Mustang is one of the few 74 Mustang II bodies in funny car racing today. It certainly is one of the lowest and wind cheating that you could ask for. He also has problems putting all that horsepower to the ground, too.
And there's the time. 7:46 the winning time for 14:72 for the losing end.
2,000 horsepower propelling these funny cars at speeds over 240 miles an hour from a standing start in just 1,320 feet. Here is the first race of this round. Quarterfinal action. It's Jungle Jim Lieberman against Raymond Beadle. In other action this round, Denny Savage driving the Tri-Town Hustler defeated Norm Wilcox, but Wilcox unable to answer the call. Little John Lombardo beat Tom Brock, and we're ready to between Beadle and Lieberman. Raymond Beadle's Mustang, 6.16 seconds. Moving very strong as he defeats Jungle Jim Lieberman. Here's the car that has dominated it. In fact, John Prudhomme has already annexed the World Championship title as he has earned enough points without even winning this race to become the world champion for 1975. His competition, Pat Foster, the Chicago Patrol. Don Prudhomme has already gone 241 miles an hour with a funny car, the fastest man in history ever to drive a full-bodied car through the quarter mile. He is looking for that magic 5-second run with a funny car. No one has ever done it before. Can Don Prudhomme do it here at the NHRA World Final? In this pass, it'll be Don Prudhomme against Pat Foster. Foster out of Chicago, Illinois. The all-important start. Both drivers concentrating on the Christmas tree as they approach those staging beams, inching into the beams. Reaction time, all important here. Don Prudhomme easily outdistances Pat Foster, a 6.17.
NHRA Championship drag racing attracting a 56,000 plus crowd here in 4 days of drag racing at this 76 Gator Nationals. Championship drag racing, one of the most popular of all spectator sports throughout the world. Funny car eliminator round number 2 in the near lane, Bob Pickett in the Mickey Thompson car. His competition, Tom Hoover. Sitting patiently, waiting for the green light, then exploding into action. Bob Pickett in the near lane has a bit of a lead. And about a 1-car length lead gives him the win at the finish line. His winning time, 6.65 seconds, 221 miles an hour. The losing time, less than a 1/10 of a second apart, 6.74. The losing time for Tom Hoover at over 220 miles an hour. Here they are in slow motion at half track. Pickett with about a car length lead, and he holds that through the timing traps and takes the win in round number 2 action. Cheryl Greer from Warner Robins, Georgia, the Mustang-bodied car. Here's the Dodge of Tom Prock. These the Castronova brothers. They hail from Utica, New York, and here in Gainesville, Florida, the weather absolutely magnificent. Beautiful sunshiny day. The overflow crowd watching as Tom Prock goes up in smoke, and it is Cheryl Greer taking an easy runaway victory in round number 2. He recorded a 6.40 seconds at over 207 miles an hour. The next pair, Burnout's completed. It's Tommy Ivo in the far lane. That's TV Tommy Ivo, former dragster racer, now converting to a funny car. For 1976, this his second major event. His competition, driving Bill Shifsky's car, is Topper Kramer. Both cars now staged. The green light comes on. And it is Topper Kramer with a bit of a hole shot. Oh, what a close race. Tommy Ivo just pulling it out in the last 1/8 of a mile, as the hole shot definitely appeared to go to Topper Kramer. Let's watch. Dancing off the starting line is Kramer, what appears to be about a 1/2 car length lead. But here comes Tommy Ivo in the slow motion replay with a 1/2 car length victory at the finish line at 6.49 seconds. The losing time, 6.56 seconds. The final pair in this second round of Funny Car Eliminator, Don the Snake Prudhomme in the near lane. In the far lane, Johnny White. White with problems, Prudhomme an easy run. But a lot of smoke out of Prudhomme's car, indicating some burned pistons. And racing we do, Steve, in round number 2, 8 cars remaining in Funny Car Eliminator. Waco Willie, they call him, Billy Meyer from Waco, Texas. He is against Dodger Glenn. Dodger Glenn out of Newcastle, Delaware, drives the frantic Ford. Both cars, having completed burnouts, inch their way into the staging beams, ready for a blast down the quarter mile. Let's take a look. Dodger Glenn all over the racetrack. Billy Meyer takes the win easily. His elapsed time, 6.82 seconds. His speed only 170 miles an hour. He knew Dodger Glenn having his share of problems. The low qualifier, Don Prudhomme, the defending champion at the Summer Nationals. Prudhomme also the reigning world champion. You can see the big number 1 proudly displayed on the side of his Plymouth Arrow. His competition, Ed the Ace McCulloch. two of the top professionals in drag racing. McCulloch into problems right off the starting line. Prudhomme with an outstanding 6.26 second elapsed time, 227 miles an hour. Here's Tom Hoover. Hoover's competition, car out of Stanton, California, Gary Bergen. Hoover based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And Hoover with a big lead over Bergen and continues to hold it through the finish line as Hoover notches a 6.45 second elapsed time. His speed 216 miles an hour. Bergen running into problems right off the starting line. Here we see in slow motion Bergen hazing the tires, the car losing traction right off the line, and that's enough to give the win to Tom Hoover. The crew on the return road lifting the bodies so Hoover can get out and start to disrobe from the extremely warm fire suit worn by all drivers in Top Fuel and Funny Car. R.C. Sherman in the Black Magic car. This one of the few Corvettes in drag racing, Tom the Mongoose McEwen. Pre-stage lights lit on the Christmas tree, now the staging beams, now the start. McEwen into problems, hazing the tires. And it's R.C. Sherman all the way at 6.90 seconds, 156 miles an hour. He also, knowing that McEwen in trouble, shutting it down, saving the engine for the next round. There you see it, the race loss right there, as not only did he haze the tires, also possibly some mechanical problems.
Those machines just pouring out that horsepower, gulping, inhaling that nitromethane as they move into the staging area. Beetle driving the popular Blue Max. There they go, and it is Raymond Beetle all the way. Beetle with a big victory over Denny Savage in the time of 6.27 seconds. So a happy crew of Raymond Beetles joining him at the finish line. Let's take a look at that again.
Frank, Raymond Beetle had lane choice, and surprisingly, at the last minute, he moved over to the right lane. Looks like it paid off as he hooks up for a solid win.
Here's Carl with the winner.
Raymond, you changed lanes at the last minute. Was that a psych job, or was that something you were looking for right along?
No, we decided it's just the way we pulled up. Thank you, Danny. We decided after last, we run good that last time in that right lane, so we was going to try the left, and we decided, well, we run so good, we might as well stick with what we had.
More semifinal action now. Gordy Bonnet of Vancouver, Canada, the defending champion in this funny car event against Tom the Mongoose McEwen. McEwen having perhaps his best season ever. Won the U.S. Nationals, second in the Spring Nationals. They're in the staging area, waiting for the green lights. They got it. Oh, tight race. Bonnet out in front. McEwen coming on strong. It is McEwen, the Mongoose, by a whisker. 6.22, just 0.06 of a second separating the two racers. Here you see it again. You see the jump that Bonnet got, but McEwen coming on very strong at the finish. Here's Carl with the Mongoose.
Tom, when we talked to you earlier today, you said if you got past Prudhomme in the second round, you were going to win the race. You're in the final. How do you feel about it?
Feel real good. Everything's going according to plan. I'm just racing him man for man on how I think I have to do without taking a chance on spinning the tires. He got out of me a little bit off the starting line, but I had plenty of power in the middle. I want to make sure it got off the starting line. So I don't know what we turned.
6:22.
So we got lane choice against Beetle.
Here is Gordy Bonnet, the Nationals champion. He's got that right lane. Let's see how he can do as he comes up against the Hawaiian, the car owned by Roland Leong and driven by Ron Colson. In the previous round, Colson ran a 6.35 second elapsed time, while Bonin ran a 6.40. Just 0.05 of a second separated their performances. Bear in mind they were both in the left lane in the previous round, and by virtue of the lower ET, the lane choice going to Ron Colson here in the semifinals. And Colson goes out of control and crosses the center line, which means automatic disqualification. So Gordy Bonin moves into the finals. A fine 6.64 second elapsed time. His speed 231 as the best time turned yet today seems in that right-hand lane by Gordy Bonin. Right here is Ron Colson out of control. You see him heading into that right-hand lane. He backs off the throttle, turns the wheel back to the left, but it's too late. He's already crossed the center line, and that means instant disqualification. You can't cross the center line in any run in competition. Here's Gordy Bonin and Ron Colson.
Gordy Bonin, possibly the only driver this year to make it into 3 final rounds in national event competition.
Well, if that's the case, we're going to have to win it. I mean, we came here, there's only one thing to do, and that's win the darn thing.
Don Garlitz just told me that a man can win this race in that right-hand lane.
He's not wrong. I don't know what we ran, but it felt pretty good for that lane. It felt the best run I've, felt or seen all weekend in that lane.
In the 660s, and let's go back up to the starting line and see if you win lane choice.
Okay.
Okay, let's watch.
As Gordy Bonin watches, John Force hopefully overcomes his mistake of the previous round and will start the car in low gear off the starting line. He had a big break as he wanted his crew member directing him back into his own tracks, trying for the traction that he hopes against hope will be there. Alongside of him, Trip Shoemake. Driving for Johnny Loper. Shoemake hailing out of Phoenix, Arizona. As he told Steve a little bit earlier, this is the first time he got to the semifinals of a national event this year. In the previous round, Shoemake with a 6.60 easily outdistanced the time by John Force. But all important right now is how quick will they run to determine who gets the lane choice in the finals against Gordy Bonin. And they both smoke the tires. John Force drifting out towards the guardrail. He backs out of it and gets back in it, but it's too late as Trip Shoemake moves into the finals. His elapsed time, 6.88 seconds, and a dejected crew member heads back for John Force's crew to go down and tow the car back as race day is over for John Force. You see the two cars both losing traction right off the starting line, and Shoemake, recovering the quickest, gets the traction back and gets across the finish line first.
The Pro Stockers now will come wheeling around the corner. Arlen Banky of Akron, Ohio, in a Plymouth Duster, running against Herb McCandless of Burlington, North Carolina. He is in the Soxon Martin Duster right here. Both these men have been absolutely superb so far. Their starts have been impeccable. Their equipment is at a peak. This could be one of the quickest Pro Stock races you have ever seen. Arlen Banky won here in 1968 at the Nationals, winning the Super Stock Championship. But this Pro Stock category is a little hotter. Red, white, and blue is McCandless. Banky's on the far side. Pro Stock title on the line right now. They're shifting all the way through, and it is close. And it's McCandless the winner. 9.981 seconds. And hear this, Banky, 9.983 seconds, and both men get 138.03 miles an hour for their top speed. And let's take another look. The top speed is measured in the last 66 feet at the very end of the course, and you can see McCandless won it by the smallest of margins.
Pomona Raceway. Nope, it's Pro Stock, Tom. And here is a rematch from last year. Soxon Martin's Plymouth Barracuda from Burlington, North Carolina. And
hey, Rob, can you bring that audio up for us?
The Chevrolet fans' favorite of Berwyn, Pennsylvania. These two men faced each other for the title last year, and James won it. That was the last.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not getting any audio on these at the moment.
Didn't win. They've won everything since. Grumpy Jenkins is known because of his real dedication more than anything else. You can't really talk to Bill in the pit area. He's very intent on what he's
As this
doing.
clip's not giving us audio at the moment, we can talk to you as it's going, but you can clearly see Ronnie Socks on the far side of the racetrack.
Okay, and here we see the tree in the right-hand portion of the...
Great, okay.
You see the pro start and the 2 cars leave. A beautiful start. Jenkins may have been out first, but Socks might have let him get away, knowing he could drive around him, and he does. Ronnie Socks. 9:89 the elapsed time for Socks. It's going to take a mechanical failure to beat him. Okay, here is a replay of it. Another pro stock race. The action fast and furious, and from this vantage point, it's very difficult to get a hold of them sometime. In the left-hand lane, Akron Arlen Vanke from Akron, Ohio. Here in the Tower lane, a Plymouth Barracuda to challenge him. Vanke is due for a major NHRA event win. He's been runner-up at 2 championships in 1970.
He's got a race on his hands here.
But he pulls it out. Arlen Vanke moving into the semifinals. Dick Landy in the Tower lane. In the far lane is Wally Booth in a Chevrolet. Booth from Ohio, Landy from Northridge, California. The Chevrolet fans are on their feet. The Chrysler Corporation products have been ruling pro stock, but look at this, and they'll cheer for this one. Wally Booth. The crowd goes nuts. Wally Booth, the most successful Chevrolet here at the Winter Nationals thus far. 9:92, and here it is again. Wally Booth and Dick Landy, Booth in the far lane, and he's pulling away inch by inch. A full car length lead, and across the finish line. Wally Booth moving into the semifinals.
And here's Arlen Vanke of Akron, Ohio. He'll be in the far lane in yellow. He's facing Don Grothier in this red, white, and blue car from Oklahoma City, a former champion here. Here we go. There's the yellow and the green, and they're off. A good start, tight race. That's Vanke in yellow. Grothier on the inside. Grothier is pulling up, and Grothier is just going to make it. The time for Grothier, 9.79, 141.00 miles per hour. Bill Grumpy Jenkins in white against Don Carthen of Royal Oaks in the black car there. This is the other semifinal. Bill, a former champion here in a light car with a small V8. They're all set to go. There's the start. They're off. A beautiful start by Bill Jenkins. Carthen's coming after him. Looks like Jenkins all the way. And he's the winner, 9.70, 140.62 miles per hour. So it's Jenkins and Grothier in the final rounds of the pro stock.
Round as we come to the last pair in this quarterfinal round. Lane 1, George Balhan, Hazel Crest, Illinois. King Speed Shop sponsored 73, Vega. This one, Balhan, Holger, and Tilley maintained is very tough. They qualified number 2 at 9:53, 1:47.
In the Tower lane, the shotgun of the Super Pro Stock drivers, Jerry Krasinski and Jerry and Jean's Pit Stop Gang Camaro. The old Bonnie and Clyde team qualifying in at 971, 146 miles per hour.
And in this quarterfinal round, if one race had to be considered fairly even because of the move by one of the two competitors on the light, I would say it would have to be this one. Krasinski Tower Lane, even though he's almost 2 tenths behind Balhan in time, can definitely make it up. Jerry is really good on the light, and George will have all he can handle on this run.
As you said, Billy, 2 tenths is one good car length out of the gate, and we've seen Jerry Krasinski time after time do that, pull that 1 car length gate job out of the gate, put the favored competitor out. Let's see if he can do it again this time. Balhan looks as though he is cocked in the staging gate, Billy, and Jerry Krasinski looks like he's flat in the groove.
Krasinski Tower Lane slowly coming up. He doesn't want much of that blue light. If you don't think he's not going for it, you are mistaken. He's going to shoot the lights, and here he comes, and Krasinski makes the move. He's out there half a car length and moving well. Lane number 1, George Balhan pushing top end. He's going to have a tough time, and it is lane number 1. What a run. Balhan had to really go on the top end to get around him. 9:54 for George Belhan. 9:54, 149, but wait till you hear the time on Krasinski Tower Lane.
Jerry Krasinski with his best run of the year, Billy, a 9:67, 145 miles per hour. So
now let's move to Pro Stock and round one. First matchup, Bob Glidden of Greenwood, Indiana in a 73 Pinto against Wayne Gapp of Birmingham, Michigan. He'll be in the left lane in a 73 Pinto.
Pro Stock of Ted is the battle of the super hot cars, similar to what you see on the street. These are, in this case, Gapp and Roush bringing their 74 Mustang to this event. In the right-hand lane, the man that won the Pro Stock title at the Nationals a year ago at Indianapolis Raceway Park, Bob Glidden in the Pinto. These cars are powered by engines using only gasoline. Here's the world champion Wayne Gapp. Using only gasoline, they are limited to 2 4-barrel carburetors and considerable chassis modifications to allow them to run elapsed times in the high 8s and low 9s.
And
over 150.
An extremely close race. Bob Glidden 9:18, Wayne Gapp a 9.29.
Here's the car of Billy Stepp from Dayton, Ohio. Bobby Ewell doing the driving. Reed Wisnett from Atlanta, Georgia, will be lining up in the left-hand lane. Wisnett making his burnout here. Much shorter than the Top Fuel funny car burnouts. All they're trying to do is heat up the tires, provide the traction. There's the concentration on the face of Bobby Ewell. And the acceleration as these cars leave the starting line.
Extremely close race at this point, and it's going to be Bobby Ewell, a time of 9.06 to 9.27 and a speed of 145 miles an hour, the winning speed. Dave Canners of Troy, Michigan, a 74 Hornet. He'll be in the right lane. Kelly Chadwick of Amarillo, Texas, a 74 Vega. He'll be in the left lane.
This car is powered by different sized engines. You will find the hemispherical combustion chamber engine in the Chrysler product cars, the small block Chevrolet in the Chevy Vega. Maskin and Canners using a small block engine in the Hornets. They are varied by weight to allow them to compete on an even basis.
At the line, extremely close, 9.23 the winning time, 9:31 for Chadwick, a losing effort, and there is the margin of victory, less than a half a car length.
We talk about an even basis, that's what it's all about.
Roy Hill of High Point, North Carolina in a 73 Duster. Kelly Hahn of Tampa, Florida in the left lane in a 74 Duster.
The cars are paired in the first round, Ted, by the way they qualified. Some 30 pro stockers were entered for this event, over 30 of them, and they qualified both Friday and Saturday leading up to today's finals, and the 16 quickest go into the final eliminations, and we're seeing them right now in the first round of eliminations. Roy Hill from High Point, North Carolina on an easy race here. Some problems obviously for Kenny Hahn. 9:26 the time for Hill at 149 miles an hour. Here's Sonny Bryant out of Orange, California. He's driving the Camaro. And you saw and heard a backfire there, and apparently maybe some problems. This is Scott Shafarov from New York. Shafarov nodding that he will get a single run as Sonny Bryant with problems. You saw it backfire right there after the burnout, and a tough break for him.
Scott Shafarov just cruising down the strip at a 9.25. And Sonny Bryant's car being pushed away from the starting line. Could have been any one of a number of things caused the problem.
Certainly could. Here we have another example of the Camaro. Now these use the 427 cubic inch engines, or the big blocks as they're known as, and again must carry more weight than their competitors such as this Hornet, the AMC Hornet of Wally Booth. 2 cars making up the American Motors Racing Team, the factory-backed team. Wally Booth winning the Gator Nationals back in March. First time ever for an American Motors car into the winner's circle in Pro Stock Eliminator.
Let's talk about what they're using for burnouts. Water or bleach?
Up until about this time a year ago, the racers could use any type of compound they wanted. Liquid, rubber, bleach, you name it, and it was used at a racetrack. But recently, the innovations in tires and also the improvements in traction compounds that are applied to the strips, it's become necessary to hold everybody to use just water, and the water is provided by the racetrack. It's poured under the tires just to allow the tires to get an easy start.
We've got a race on our hands in this one.
We sure do. Richie Zool trying his best. 9:15 the winning time for Wally Booth, and 9:26 for Zool, and it was very close in the lights. The American Motors Hornet using the small block engine, the big block rat-motored Chevrolet of Richie Zool. We'll just see how close right here. Let's watch.
11 hundredths of a second separating the winning and losing effort there.
1,320 feet is the length of a racetrack at a drag strip. 1/4 of a mile, and you can see less than a car length separating them after a heads-up start.
In the right lane, Ken Dondero of Malvern, Pennsylvania in a 74 Vega. Jim Holleran of Hillside, Illinois in the left lane, a 74 Maverick.
And here's the story behind this race, this matchup, is the 74 Vega, the Grumpy's toy, normally driven by Bill Jenkins. But Jenkins relinquishing the driver's seat for this event to Ken Dondero. And you see Bill Jenkins right there acting as crew chief for this race, looking on. Here's the concentration on the face of Dondero. They still got Bill Jenkins' name on the side of the car.
We have pre-stage, and we are staged, and the tree goes green.
On one side of the tree, the left lane leaving a big red light for Jim Halloran. You saw him there. He knew that he had to take a chance at getting a hole shot. 9:15 the winning time, 9:34 with a red light, and losing automatically at the starting line was Jim Halloran. You can see how much earlier he left there on the slow motion shot over Ken Dondero.
And he got a traffic ticket. Joe Satmary of Hammond, Indiana will be in the left lane in the 73 Camaro.
Sam Giannino from Royal Oak, Michigan in the 74 Vega. And here's a perfect example of the small car, small engine, big car, big engine that is in pro stock today. Giannino using the 330 cubic inch engine, and a tremendous start for Satmary in the big block 427 type Camaro.
Joe Satmary, the winner, a time of 9.31, 9:52 the losing effort, 147 miles an hour for the winning
Bob
speed.
Glidden on the far side. He is matched up against the Ford Pinto of Lee Hunter. Both Pintos off the starting line together. Bob Glidden, the defending world champ, got back in on a big break when his competition in round number 1 was found to be light after Glidden red-lighted away his chance for a win. Very close at the finish line, you can see just a little over a wheel width separating the two cars as they move across the finish line. It's Wayne Gap matched up against Stacy Shields in the second race of this round. In other action in this round, Larry Huff defeated Jack Shore. Bill Jenkins topping Richie Zool. Stacy Shields, one of the few black drivers in drag racing from Indianapolis, Indiana. He's driving the Superfly Mustang. Wayne Gap from Livonia, Michigan, at the wheel of the four-door Maverick. Here you see the Christmas tree. Both cars stayed. They leave smoke coming out of Wayne Gap's car, and Stacy Shields pulling ahead, and what an upset here as Wayne Gap, the favorite, coming into the race with a big lead, loses as obviously a motor going away. Wayne Gap coasting across the finish line. Stacy Shields with the upset win.
Pro Stock Eliminator picking up the action in the second round. Here is Richie Zool from Lindenhurst, Long Island, New York. His competition from Fridley, Minnesota, Warren Johnson, both drivers. The wheel of the big block Camaros. And a close race. At the finish line, it is Warren Johnson, 8.78 seconds. Speed over 156 miles an hour. The losing time, 8.83. These are the most sophisticated, full-bodied, stock car type drag racing vehicles in the world. Dave Canners in the far lane. He's driving the American Motors Hornet, matched up against High Point, North Carolina's Roy Hill. Canners hailing from Troy, Michigan. The start, all important in this category as it is in all classes of drag racing. Roy Hill in the near lane, Dave Canners in the far lane. Let's watch and see if you can determine who leaves the starting line first. Dave Canners, it appears, out first on Roy Hill. At the finish line, it's going to be very close. Dave Canners by just about a wheel length, recording an 8.88 second elapsed time. The losing time by Roy Hill was an 8.84. So that means that Dave Canners did leave the starting line first, as each lane of the racetrack has its own separate timing equipment, and that's how close it was at the finish. Here is the Monza of Bill Grumpy Jenkins, driven by Larry Lombardo of Malvern, Pennsylvania. His competition, another Monza, Shelby Jester from Abilene, Texas. The Monzas using the smaller Chevrolet engines than their Camaro counterparts. A red light start for Shelby Jester gives the win automatically to Larry Lombardo, but he's not backing out of it. Neither is Jester. 8.81 seconds, the winning time for Larry Lombardo. The final race in round number 2 action in Pro Stock Eliminator in the near lane from Calverton, Virginia, the big block Camaro of Lee Edwards. In the far lane, the world champion, defending world champ Bob Glidden from Beech Grove, Indiana, driving the Pinto. Another tremendously close race. It's Bob Glidden there first, 8.87 seconds at 154.63 miles an hour. 16 cars have qualified for Pro Stock Eliminator, and Carl Hobson of Baltimore, Maryland drives the Chevrolet Camaro. His competition, Andy Manarino in the American Motors Hornet, and a red light for Carl Hobson gives the win automatically to Andy Manarino. Manarino's time, 8.77 seconds. His speed, 154 miles an hour for the Hornet. Next pair, Ronnie Manchester out of Westport, Massachusetts. Manchester driving a 77 Chevy Monza. Bob Gardner, his competition from Springfield, Virginia, in a 77 Mustang. Couch indicating into the staging beam for Bob Gardner. They leave the line together, front wheels bouncing off the ground for Ronnie Manchester. Manchester the winner, 8.80 seconds, 155 miles an hour at the end of a quarter mile. Here's Warren Johnson. Steve told you earlier, Warren Johnson ran off the track in qualifying. You see the patchwork done to the right front fender to repair the body damage to get him back into competition. Former world champion Bob Glidden, his competition in a 77 Pinto. Both cars approaching the staging beams, the classic Ford versus Chevrolet, and leaving the line together. Glidden with the front wheels high in the air, drifting close to the edge of the track. He keeps it down the straight and narrow though, and Glidden the easy winner. A fine 8.68 seconds. His speed 156 miles an hour. Let's take a look in slow motion, the last portion of the quarter mile. Glidden about a car length and a half, 2 car lengths ahead of Warren Johnson at the finish line. Here is Alban Gauthier of Montreal, Quebec, Canada, driving a 1976 Plymouth Duster in this first round of Pro Stock racing. The Chevrolet Monza, driven by Richie Zool. Zool formerly campaigning his own car out of the New York City area, now driving for Rare and Morrison from Arlington, Texas. The Chevrolet Monza and the Plymouth Duster approaching the starting line, waiting for the green light to leave the line together. The Chevy Monza pulling an early lead and extending that lead, it appears, as he continues through the quarter mile. Richie Zool, the winner, his elapsed time, 8.75 seconds. His speed, 154 miles an hour. Here in slow motion, you see Zool with a big lead as he crosses the finish line. Let's go down now to the starting line for some observations from Steve.
Dave, here at the midway point in Pro Stock, there's no upsets, but running very true to form. All 4 winners were the quicker cars from qualifying. The crowd seems very partisan Chevrolet, so I'm going to get out of the way and let the action continue.
Here's another one of those favorite Chevrolets, Steve. This one, Joe Satmary's big block Camaro from Hammond, Indiana. But Satmary has his work cut out for him. This American Motors Hornet of Wally Booth has seen the winner's circle several times in NHRA National Event competition. The Chevrolet versus the Hornet. Let's watch. A big hole shot by Joe Satmary. You saw him leave the starting line before Wally Booth. Can he hold on to the win? He does by just about a few inches. Joe Satmary, the winner over Wally Booth. His elapsed time, 8.78 seconds. His speed, 154 miles an hour. But the big story is Wally Booth. Though he lost the race, he went quicker, 8.62 seconds. His speed, 156. You see right there the amount of the difference for the winner, Joe Satmary in the Chevrolet, and the crowd loved that one. Dino Don Nicholson, recent winner of the Spring Nationals Championships, his Ford Mustang against Bob Ingalls of Ossining, New York, with the Chevrolet Monza. Leading the line first, drifting somewhat close to the center line, but that powerful Ford Mustang pulls out the win. It's Dino Don Nicholson, 8.58 seconds, equaling the national record elapsed time. His speed, 157 miles an hour. Here, as we see them approaching the finish line, Nicholson has already pulled up and passed Bob Ingalls and carried it through for about a 3-foot win at the finish line. The world champion, Larry Lombardo, driving Bill Grumpy Jenkins' car from Malvern, Pennsylvania. It's a 77 Monza, matched against the 77 Plymouth Arrow of Roy Hill from Randleman, North Carolina. And the Monza with a big lead. The crowd favorite, Larry Lombardo, 8.62 seconds, a speed of 159 miles an hour, top speed of the meet thus far for Pro Stock. This is Don Campanello out of Wayne, New Jersey, his Chevy Monza, matched against a similar Monza, driven by Frank Iaconio of Totowa, New Jersey. Here in slow motion, you see the burnout done by all Pro Stockers. The purpose, to heat the big, wide racing slicks to get them as hot as possible, to provide as much traction as possible to put these cars through the quarter mile. A red light start for Don Campanello, giving the win automatically to Frank Iaconio. Though you see Campanello winning the race, it is Frank Iaconio, your winner, at 8.71 seconds, as the red light by Campanello automatically disqualified him. Pro Stock Racing, the factory hot rods, Joe Satmary against Randy Humphrey. Humphrey from Long Beach, California, Satmary out of Maryville, Indiana. Chevrolet versus Mopar. The RPM's climbing at the starting line, and a red light for Randy Humphrey. He knew he had to take a chance on the Christmas tree. And it was Joe Satmary with an easy win. 8.73 seconds elapsed time, 154 miles an hour. There's the red light indicating Randy Humphrey in the near lane, leaving too early. You can see it in the instant replay, just how it happened. The next pair in round number 2 racing in Pro Stock. The M&M boys, Maskin and Manarino. Andy Manarino doing the driving. Frank Iaconio from Totowa, New Jersey, in the far lane in the Chevy Monza. Manarino from Livonia, Michigan, drives an American Motors Hornet, but it's Iaconio on this run, 8.71 seconds at 155 miles an hour. A pair of Chevrolets slated to run in this race, but Richie Zool, the Spring Nationals champion, unable to answer the call. Lee Shepard out of Arlington, Texas, taking an easy win on a single, 8.70 seconds. His speed, 150 miles an hour. Steve's in the pits with Richie Zool.
What happened, Richie?
Well, we had a tough first round, and in order to make it, we had to really lean on the motor and put a hole in one of the pistons.
The Ewell brothers Chevrolet in the near lane. Mark Ewell driving Bob Glidden. And a red light start for Ewell. He knew he had to take a shot against the low qualifier. Bob Glidden with his new Ford Fairmont. And it's Glidden with the win, 8.60 seconds at 154 miles an hour. A red light for Ewell. An instant replay, he really left early before Glidden ever moved.
But the action right now is in Gainesville Raceway. On the starting line, the Pro Stock, those factory hot rods. Here's Wally Booth, the American Motors Concorde. Matched up with Booth is the Reno, Nevada team of the Ewell brothers and Ken Van Wert. Mark Ewell doing the driving. It's American Motors against Chevrolet in this first race of the second round of Pro Stock Eliminator. Staging both cars into the staging lanes, and a great some problems. It's Mark Ewell there first, 8.74 seconds. His speed, 153 miles an hour. Here in instant replay, you saw Wally Booth having problems. Mark Ewell taking the win. Don Campanello coming out of the smoke left from the burning tires after his burnout. He's racing Jim Canet in a Plymouth Volare. Canet's car powered by the Hemi engine. Campanello using a small block Chevrolet. The start, all important in drag racing. Both drivers concentrating on the Christmas tree, and a bit of a hole shot for Jim Canet. That means he got a little bit of advantage off the starting line over Don Campanello. But the finish line is where it matters, and Campanello got there first, 8.68 seconds. His speed, 156 miles an hour. As the instant replay shows, about a 1 car length advantage for Campanello. Ronnie Sox in the near lane. Larry Lombardo driving for Bill Jenkins in the far lane. A Dodge Omni-bodied car. Just eking out a win was Ronnie Sox, defeating Larry Lombardo. And at the finish line, 1/100th of a second separated the two cars, less than 3 feet. The world champion Bob Clinton's in the near lane in his Plymouth Arrow, and a red lighting Joe Satmary puts his Chevrolet Camaro out of competition. The win automatically going to Clinton. He still drives around Satmary. His elapsed time, 8.55 seconds and 149 miles an hour.
Meantime, there is action at the staging lane. Jim Nichols moving into the near lane from Spring Valley, California. He's going against Don Garlitz of Cessna, Florida. Garlitz almost a living legend as far as the NHRA Nationals are concerned. A 3-time winner. Jim Nichols has never won a big one, but he has been close, and he's had a good season. And it's strictly shootout time right now with Big Daddy. The winner here goes to the Top Fuel Finals. Garlitz in the far lane, Nickel in the near lane. The big crowd all standing. And the red light is shining in Don Garlitz's lane. You won't see that very often, but Don Garlitz has drawn a red light. He left too soon. Perhaps it was the bite of the track, the incredible traction you get here at Raceway Park. Whatever, Don Garlitz has been eliminated by a foul, and thus ends his comeback to racing after his severe accident. But he made it to the semifinals, and he is still tough. Jim Nickel is the winner, and we'll have more in a moment. All right, here we go with the last of the semifinal runs in the Top Fuel category. Jim Nickel has already won his way into the finals. The winner of this one between Don Prudhomme, moving up to burn his tires, against Brian Budd, who moves into the near lane. Brian Budd was the low qualifier, rolled off the truck a couple of days ago and turned in a 6.66 seconds. Elapsed time is better than 212 miles an hour, and nobody could beat him in the qualifying. And he has made his way to the semifinals. You would think at this juncture, however, Don Prudhomme might enjoy a psychological edge because Bud has not had the experience of Prudhomme nor the winning history. Very ticklish up on that starting line, and both men know it. Literally laden with fatigue. They have struggled and fought their way to this moment. And just a few seconds from now, it's going to be all over for one of them. Prudhomme in the far lane, Bud in the near lane. Red light on Brian Budd. Don Prudhomme is in the finals against Jim Nickel. Bud, realizing he had to get off quick, let it go too quick. He saw the red light himself and shut his equipment off and coasts on through the trap. And Don Prudhomme will be going against Jim Nickel for the Top Fuel Championship here at the Nationals.
The announcer right now is saying, ladies and gentlemen, Don Garlitz, and that's the only introduction he needs. Look at Garlitz. He's already shaking hands, and he hasn't left the starting line. From Seffner, Florida. And believe me, after this win and this new rear-engine dragster, he's the undisputed king. I think for the fans' sake, he smoked the tires on purpose.
I think I know the answer to this question, but I'll ask you anyway. The future of the rear-engine top-fuel dragster.
Well, I think it's here to stay. I believe that we'll see lots of cars built now because obviously the car is safer. The driver, I ran all day long, never got anything on my helmet or anything. It was just a nice, clean ride. The noise is not objectionable. You're not getting anything on your face. I believe we'll see a lot of cars. I believe this is the beginning of the end of the slingshot as we know it today.
The rear-engine dragster is certainly not a new idea, but it was never successful mainly due to handling problems, and you have absolutely none.
That's right. You notice on the second day I got a little out of shape about halfway down when I ran in an oil slick and had no problem coming out of it, which was a good test. And then the smoking the tires there on that run shows that the car handled very nicely even with the tires loose. So I really don't know why they never have worked before. I think possibly it was a combination of tires and clutch. The things that we have today make it possible, where they didn't have those a few years ago.
Well, you are truly the big daddy after this.
This is Carl Olson. Will be on the outside lane here. The car with a white on it, he qualified 29th. His opponent here, Gary Cochran, who qualified 15th, will be in the near lane. There is Carl Olson. Getting all set for the start. But it seems to be a problem, and they're pushing away Gary Cochran's car. He has shut off his engine, and now Carl Olson has to run by himself. An easy breeze for Carl Olson, who'll save his engine. And I believe the problem with Gary Cochran, he changed his engine between the quarterfinals and the semis. He probably had a loose fuel line. A tough break for Gary Cochran, a great break for Carl Olson. And that hand going up shows what I mean. Here we go again. It's Dennis Baca here. He'll be on the outside lane. He qualified second, certainly the favorite here, against Dale Funk, who qualified 28th. Dale will be on the near side. Crowd is up for this one. Bach on the outside, smoking away. There they go. Baca moves up, but Funk is having a problem. He's having engine problems. An easy breeze for Baca. So in the finals here, it'll be Dennis Baca against Carl Olson in the top fuel eliminator.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the roller starts, two of the great National Touring AA fuel dragsters attempting to qualify. Remember, the low winning elapsed time moves into the number 1 position. The low overall elapsed time into the number 2 position. These two machines meet in the finals.
In lane number 1, the car on the right side of the roller starts. Looking from the timing tower will be the car coming up in the right lane, Marvin Schwartz from Clearwater, Florida. Al Sedita, the mechanic on the car. This guy has been at it for many moons. He started with Big Daddy Don Garlitz in 1961, and now he's one of Garlitz's biggest nemesis. They met in the final at Tulsa at the PRA meet. Marvin Schwartz fell in that final run, but he ran 6 elapsed times before Garlitz could take him out. In lane number 1, one of the great drag racers of all time, Marvin Schwartz.
In the tower lane, it's 31-year-old Dick LaHaye, the quiet man, in his 7th low and fuel dragster of his career, 473 cubic inches of Sid Waterman Chrysler.
Schwartz in lane number 1 with a 520-inch Dodge on his Burnout. And now comes LaHaye, tower lane. Do you believe 520 cubic inches on a 3/4-inch arm on Marvin Schwartz's machine in lane 1? If you don't understand drag racing paraphernalia or drag racing terminology, the 520-inch arm means that he has a big, or the 3/4-inch arm means that he has a big crank in that machine, 3/4-inch extra lift on it, and he is really putting out some cubic inches that in conversion figure out to be tremendous horsepower. So he should have probably about, probably 2,200 horsepower to work with on that machine in lane 1, Ben.
That is the biggest engine in drag racing, Billy. There's only 2 other people running that engine, and Marvin Schwartz is running it in a dragster. Barry Setzer runs it in a funny car.
Marvin sitting down there very patiently waiting for Dick LaHaye, tower lane, to back up. LaHaye looked like he tried to straddle the oil streak Tower Lane on the Burnout. He is now ready. Dick LaHaye, Tower Lane, Marvin Schwartz, Spectator Lane.
And look at the way that Marvin Schwartz has those wheels cantered in, Billy. We don't see very many people that try that configuration on a dragster. Marvin does things differently. And on green, Marvin makes the move. He's got one open on LaHaye. LaHaye is after him, straddling the oil at the finish line. Marvin Schwartz, Spectator Lane.
Marvin Schwartz in the Spectator Lane with the quickest time so far at 6:42. 6:42, 225 miles an hour for Schwartz in the Spectator Lane.
Starting right out with the nitro methane burning monsters, the Top Fuel Eliminators, and Carl Olson of El Toro, California, against Sarge Arciero of Broomall, Pennsylvania. Should be a good matchup, Dave.
Certainly should, Ted. This is Sarge Arciero. The car is called the Jade Grenade, and one of the finest racers from the East Coast area. Of course, Carl Olson, a former Winter Nationals champion, and really one of the top racers from throughout the West Coast, is here at the Spring Nationals trying to annex another NHRA National title.
Carl Olson's had a very successful campaign as a Top Fuel.
Yes, he has. He drives for his partner Mike Cool, the team of Cool and Olson. They've won the Winter Nationals. They won the famed Bakersfield March Meet, which is one of the more spectacular Top Fuel Eliminator races throughout the country. Sarge Arciero, a very capable driver. They've had their share of bad luck, ups and downs throughout their career. But right now, they're the first race in the first round of Top Fuel Eliminator.
We're starting to stage very carefully. We'll explain the staging situation, and they're off, and it looks like a pretty good matchup for the first race of the afternoon.
Very close race at this point, as you can see, crossing the finish line. It's Carl Olson there first.
Time of 6.28.
Our next pair pits a fellow from Enid, Oklahoma, Mike Wagoner. He's doing his burnout right now, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And an Ohio resident, Paul Longenecker from Arcanum.
What do these engines produce as far as horsepower is concerned?
Ted, you would probably be accurate in saying anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 horsepower come from these nitromethane burning and supercharged dragsters. The engines now with cubic inch displacements nearing 500 cubic inches. Mike Wagoner and Paul Longenecker.
Again, a very careful stage and a good start. And the winner, Mike Wagoner, a time of 6.34, 225 miles an hour. Now our next matchup, John Wiebe of Newton, Kansas. He'll be in the left lane against Ronnie Martin of Arlington, Texas. John Wiebe is the defending champion in Top Fuel.
Yes, he is. He won it all here 1 year ago, defeating Don Garlitz in the final run. John Wiebe hails from Newton, Kansas, a professional drag racer. The car powered by the Donovan engine. There are 3 specialty engines that are in use today. Here we see a burnout in slow motion. You can see the tires grow. The purpose of the burnout to warm the tires, to get them as soft as possible, and also as clean as possible, to provide them with the traction necessary to propel these cars through the quarter mile. Here's the staging sequence. Both cars pre-staged, now staged. Ronnie Martin, you saw a shot of him. John Wiebe hesitating momentarily there.
Losing something.
And what a close race. 6:59 losing for Ronnie Martin. 6:62 the winning time for John Wiebe. And here in slow motion, we'll talk about how you can go slower and yet win the race. You saw the smoke coming up from the tires of Ronnie Martin's. That means he's losing time as he goes down that quarter mile. And John Wiebe playing catch up and caught him.
Our next race, Herm Peterson of Paulsbo, Washington. He'll be in the right lane against Dick LaHaye of DeWitt, Michigan.
This is a shot of LaHaye, and here is Herm Peterson. You see how the drivers are encased in this roll cage, a protective cage built around the drivers. They're staging, of course, all the cars doing burnouts and picking up the action as they leave the starting line. Dick LaHaye and Herm Peterson. Looked like LaHaye had the whole shot or the jump off the line.
Very close.
Peterson, very close.
Time of 6:30, winning time for Herm Peterson.
Herm Peterson, of course, on the comeback trail after a very severe accident a year ago. He is probably to drag racing what Salt Walther is to championship car racing. Here you see exactly how close it was. Herm Peterson just barely nipping him. That line across the left edge of your screen is the finish line.
This matchup should be a fine one. Gary Beck of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. against Flip Schofield of Escondido, California.
Gary Beck, the national champion for 2 years in a row. He is the current national champion. He won the Winter Nationals race and was runner-up at the recent Gator Nationals thus far in 1974, and is probably the hottest thing going in the Top Fuel racing right now. Flip Schofield, another fine driver from California, qualified here at this 10th annual Spring Nationals.
I would say he lost a lot of traction there, Dave. A lot of smoke coming up as Gary Beck takes it with a time of 6.09, 230 miles an hour.
At 6:09, the lowest time thus far, is our next pair coming into the Burnout area. We see this is Robert Struckness from Minot, North Dakota. North Dakota is not necessarily the hotbed of Top Fuel racing, but Robert Struckness doing a fine job qualifying into this field. Here we see Struckness, and it looks like starter Buster Couch pointing at something, calling a crewman over, and he gives the sign to cut it off to Robert Struckness. He pulls the fuel shutoff, which is used to shut these engines off, and a very dejected and unhappy Robert Struckness starts to head out of the car as Jim Booker from Westchester, Ohio, a suburb of Cincinnati, leaves the line with his Chevrolet-powered car. Here's Struckness.
A very dejected man, too, as Jim Booker takes a slow run down the track. Wonder what the problem could have been, Dave.
It could be something coming out of the engine, either oil or water, that would have gotten onto the track underneath the tires. Here is the only female driver in Top Fuel competition today. This is Shirley Cha-Cha Muldowney from Mount Clemens, Michigan, and qualified into this field.
She'll be matched against Grant Stoms of Edison, New Jersey.
Stoms is another one of those fine East Coast racers that you really don't hear a lot about in some cases, but certainly has made his name for himself on the East Coast and has done a fine job getting into this 16-car field at the 10th annual Spring Nationals. Shirley Muldowney competed here a year ago with a funny car. She has now converted over to the Top Fuel dragster. Here you see Shirley Cha-Cha Muldowney, the only woman holding a competition license to drive a Top Fuel dragster.
And driving a pink one, too. Watching the staging lights very carefully. They edge their cars into position, and they're off. And it looks like Stoms by a wide margin.
Excellent run for Stoms at a 6:17, 233 miles an hour. Here we have an interesting matchup. In the left-hand lane, you see him right there, is Clayton Harris. This is his first race since an accident at the Grand Nationals a year ago. He was not driving a car. He just slipped and fell and broke his leg. He had complications. This is the first time he's been back in competition. He's racing against Dave Settles, the driver for the Candies and Hughes team that won the race there and also won the recent Gator Nationals in Gainesville, Florida. But Clayton Harris back on the comeback trail. Right now, let's go down in the staging lanes and Ted Mullins.
Shirley, I think the first question is, are you a women's liver?
Yeah, Ted, I'd have to be, being the only gal in this game.
Did they give you some rough times back in the pit there?
Not today. Years ago, they used to.
How did you get started in drag racing?
Heavy street racing on the streets about 16 years ago.
And then you advanced to funny cars, I believe, last year, weren't you?
Yeah, well, I went to gas dragsters first, then a dual-engine car, and then into the fuel-burning funny car. I had a lot of success the first year. And I took the test for the fuel-powered digger and got that license last year and came along to the new car this year.
It must give you quite a feeling of accomplishment to know you're the only licensed woman to drive a Top Fuel.
Yeah, because I told that to a friend of mine, Pete Robinson. He's gone now, but I told him someday I'd be the first. And I'd be the first to go 200, 225, and I did so, and I'm pretty proud of it.
Do you worry about anybody breaking your time?
No, I think it'll be a little while before you see another gal.
In the first semifinal, we'll match Garlitz, the Florida swamp rat from Sefner, and a Fountain Valley, California boy with the colorful name of Rick Ramsey. Watch Garlitz's right rear tire. That soft Goodyear has only 5.5 pounds pressure in it. Look at it grow as he burns it off. Now it's Ramsey's turn. He's got a tough row to hoe, coming up against the best in the business. Garlitz, a three-time winner here at Pomona, is looking to make it 4. Now they go to the staging area, the critical part. The two left-hand lights set the stage light. They must be obstructed, and the right-hand light is the one that starts the clock. Now Garlitz is about ready to move into the stage. Ramsey's car, the top of the screen, blocks the lights. He's staged. Now Garlitz is staged, and they wait now for the signal to go. It's Big Daddy, clear and fast, away from Ramsey. Over the line with the parachute pulling him to a soft stop. The clock said 6.8. seconds. His speed, a phenomenal 229 flat to move into the finals. Garlitz is from Florida, but everything on his car except his homemade chassis is produced in California. The second semifinal will match red-bearded Dave Settles of Houma, Louisiana, and Herm Peterson of Poulsboro, Washington. And these are the $30,000 to $50,000 cars, not including their travel rigs. The collective value of the entire field here at Pomona figures to be more than that of an Indy garage area. And as for return on investment, today's purse is $261,350. $13,500 in top fuel, $4,500 for the run-up. Now let's watch this tire grow to maturity. And in a glimpse, you can see the stresses that the tires undergo during the burnout process. This long California day has been an extremely challenging one for the crews and the drivers. First of all, the weather, which started out warm and sunny, has been changing all day long. It's now cool. This means engine change. And with the track conditioning changing, the tire pressures and clutch settings have to be revamped. Everything must be tailored to the conditions of the moment. Side by side, ready to go. Remember, the winner gets a shot at Garlitz in the final, and it settles. The Cajun gets a shot at Big Daddy. Winning speed, 211.26 miles an hour. Now here's a look at the finish in slow motion. Every power stroke of the engine can be seen pulsing out of the exhaust. Old Redbeard goes against Big Daddy in the finals. We'll see that in a minute.
And it's James Warren in the near lane against Frank Bradley. Two of the best West Coast drivers traveling all the way to Gainesville, Florida to meet here in the semifinals. A great race as James Warren pulls it out in the last eighth of a mile. As you can see, just a car length separating them at the finish. Warren recording a 6.20 second elapsed time at over 239 miles an hour. In the near lane, the Chevrolet-powered dragster of Jim Booker against Marvin Graham. Graham with the big lead, and something lets go, and it's Jim Booker with the win into the finals, 6.40 seconds. Florida. Picking up the action in round number 2, Tony Serrallo from the Bronx, New York, against Lee Weller from Westminster, Maryland, driving Jim and Allison Lee's top fuel dragster. The burnouts completed on both cars, approaching the starting line. Tony Serrallo in the near lane, Lee Weller in the far lane. Weller with a big lead and Serrallo up in smoke. Lee Weller, your winner, 6.27 seconds, 229 miles an hour. Advancing into the semifinals, Jim and Allison Lee, Lee Weller up. Jeb Allen, Santa Rosa, California. His competition, Ron Atterbury from San Jose, California. Here's a burnout in slow motion, the tires growing due to the centrifugal force, and also the smoke coming off of them as they begin to heat up and get very hot. All the cars in Top Fuel Eliminator doing the burnouts to heat the rubber compound used in these 17, 18-inch wide slicks. Racing tires built specifically for drag racing. At the age of 18, Jeb Allen was the winner in this event, finished runner-up in Top Fuel here a year ago. Coming into the staging beam, both cars pre-staged. Now inching into that light beam across the starting line indicates their stage. The green comes on. And Jeb Allen pulling an easy victory as Ron Atterbury having problems. Allen, low elapsed time thus far in eliminations, 5.99 seconds, 223 miles an hour. That took him just under 6 seconds to cover 1,320 feet from a standing start. The defending world champion, Richard Tharp, driving the Candies and Hughes dragster. Tharp hailing from Dallas, Texas. The team of Candies and Hughes from Houma, Louisiana. Competition for Tharp, Grant Stoms. Stoms actually from East Brunswick, New Jersey, not more than 5 miles away from Raceway Park, located near Englishtown. Burnouts completed. Both cars leave the line together. Stoms with problems. 6.03 seconds at 243 miles an hour for Tharp. Here we see the problems with Grant Stomps as a slight fire erupts. You'll see it right behind the parachute. There it comes. Out of the engine of Grant Stomps, indicating a lot of motor problems and a lot of oil on the racetrack. This race plagued thus far with breakage problems throughout both first and second round racing. This is Pat Dakin. Dakin out of the state of Ohio to be pitted against Shirley Muldowney, winner of the Spring Nationals. Muldowney, low qualifier here, 5.77 seconds, but she has not been close to it as track conditions have changed considerably from the day and night qualifying for the past 2 days. A close race. And Shirley Muldowney, by about a half a car length, takes the victory over Pat Dakin, 6.05 seconds, 243 miles an hour. And here we see it. They leave the starting line together. Shirley beginning to haze the tire. She backpedals beautifully, gets back into it, and holds on for the victory over Pat Dakin, as you can see, by about a half a car length. Shirley Muldowney, a very tired lady, as the heat and humidity taking its toll on these drivers.
Down now to the round of 4. Rob Bruins and Big Daddy Garlitz, the young lion and the old lion, for supremacy in the World Finals of hot rod racing.
Stage.
They're ready. They're gone. It is Bruins' turn this time. Rob Bruins defeats Big Daddy Don Garlitz in the semifinal round in the time of 6.08 seconds. A big victory for the Washington youngster and a very happy crew. The other semifinal round, Richard Tharp taking on Gary Beck. Tharp from Dallas, Texas. Beck, former Canadian, now lives in El Toro, California. There they go.
Oh, and Richard Tharp is way out of shape. Almost got across the center line.
What happened?
Looked like he broke traction with one tire and it drove the car sideways.
Let's take a look at it again. Has he a reputation for doing this, Carl?
Yes, as a matter of fact, he always puts the car right on the ragged edge, but never seems to go over.
The team of Frazier and Abbott from Denver, Colorado. This is the semifinals of Top Fuel Racing. Johnny Abbott, the driver. His competition is Bill Pryor, the team of Naramore and Pryor. As we watch the Christmas tree, both cars inching into the staging beams. You're seeing the starting line lights, just the driver sees it, sitting inside that long, slender missile that runs over 245 miles an hour. A lot of concentration needed here as the start is all important. Pryor off to the lead as Abbott smoking the tires. Pryor uses up a good bit of his lane, but he stays ahead and moves into the finals. Bill Pryor, 6.56 seconds. His speed only 215 miles an hour. Abbott, a valiant effort after smoking the tires, was 669 at 225. Once again, let's go to Steve.
Very happy, Bill Pryor. This means your first ever final round appearance at an NHRA National event.
That's right, Steve. Very happy to be here, too.
You're not pleased with the performance, I don't think, though. Looks like you had a lot of problems.
No, I'm not pleased with that at all. I mean, the thing shook really bad when it left the starting line. My only savior was him smoking the tires and having problems, too.
Okay, in just a second here, we're going to determine who races you in the final round of the Gator Nationals. They're on the line. David.
Steve, obviously that left-hand lane creating problems for whoever happens to be there. And this time it is the reigning world champion, Kelly Brown. He is racing Rob Bruins. Bruins has recorded with Gaines Markley's car the lowest elapsed time of eliminations in the first round at 5.93 seconds. Kelly Brown never to be counted out, driving for the team of Diaz and Schultz, the over-the-hill gang, switching cars for this 79 season. And Bruins breaks something off the starting line. Kelly
Kelly Brown, in another masterful driving job, keeps it between the guardrail and the center line to take the win. Let's watch again. You see instant smoke coming off the car. The tires of Kelly Brown. Rob Bruins already coming to a stop as he leaves the starting line and something breaks.
A day dawning in Indiana. The final day of competition in the National Hot Rod Association National Drag Racing Championships. Raceway Park. If you want to be part of the action, you want to go early. If you are part of the action, you have to go early. And the man driving this truck is very much part of the action. His name is Don Prudhomme. The national dragster considered him a prime favorite to win the Nationals in AA fuel competition for a second successive time. A young man, but still a veteran. He's been in the sport a long time. He's learned his trade the hard way. He's a favorite.
I think at this time of morning, there wouldn't be anybody on the road, right?
I couldn't even believe it when I got out of bed. When he called at 6.
Yeah. Another morning, right? We got 2 more to go when we go home, right?
Is that the plan?
That's the plan. Of course, the main thing is that clutch, but we get that clutch and tire combination together, we got it made. We go up to the line in the last round and try it like that, and that baby smokes and tires to your history, right? They're pretty good guys, but you know, when you get to a meet like this, you don't really have any friends, you know. You can't.
Do you believe there's traffic?
Do you have any real plans on how you're going to run the meet?
Full bore all the way. You have to. If you try and back off and save it for the last round, somebody will get you. They'll grenade it against you or something, you know. Just plan on, after 5 runs, the engine will be junk, but the last run, it'll still be there.
As you could tell by Don Prudhomme's comments and reflections earlier this morning when these pictures were taken, there would be little time for quietness at the track. When he arrived, these young fans were waiting, and Don Prudhomme always takes time to visit with those who back him from the stands, and particularly the young people. He recognizes his sport for what it is. It is more than just acceleration down a quarter-mile strip, a test of speed. It's also a test of men.
Okay.
On this day, from here on, there will be very little time for personal reflection.
Huh?
Don Prudhomme has won it twice now, and should he win, he will join Garlett as a 3-time national champion.
The National Hot Rod Association Nationals offering more than $300,000 in total posted prize money. The crowd came early.
1,000+ entries to this national championship, and we're down now to just about a couple of hundred, and everything's riding on the action today.
The transformation of the man into a fantasy-like figure as he pulls on the fireproof clothing, the mask, the helmet, wedging the body into the steel cage to protect himself should there be trouble somewhere down that quarter-mile strip. The nickname Snake that Don Prudhomme wears is not the prettiest around, but it symbolizes his attitude once he sits at the starting line for a drag race. Toughness, quickness. And as they are pushed for that giddy little ride into the staging area, each man withdraws unto himself, knowing full well he's got to run his own race, that you really can't afford to race the other man. From the moment you leave that starting line until you flash over the finish line, it's often less than 7 seconds. It'll be Prudhomme against Danny Ungayas, a pair of Californians. They burn their tires in the staging area to heat them up, make them as sticky as possible to get every bit of the traction they can using a special solution. But when they release the 1,500 horsepower engines onto those tires, they want them to stick, to grab, to drive, and send them winging down the quarter-mile straight. Lynn Prudhomme, part of the crew as she watches her husband, Don, move up to the starting line. Prudhomme in the near lane, Danny Ungaius in the far lane, and they are ready. Incredible blast of power as Don Prudhomme defeats Danny Ungaius, the kind of action that is marking the 16th annual National Hot Rod Association, staging one of the most explosive, one of the most record-setting events in the history of drag racing. I'm Keith Jackson, and today on ABC's Wide World of Sports, I think that you'll just stand in awe at some of the mechanical and personal performances by some of the top drag racing drivers in the world. And something new at the National Drags at Raceway Park, motorcycles for the first time, running in a special category, $1,500 prize money. In the competition we're about to see, James Chrysler, Minneapolis, Minnesota, on a Harley-Davidson, and from Great Britain, Dennis Norman. Their speed will be more than 135 to 140 miles an hour. In the far lane, James Chrysler gets off the line with a great hole shot, pulls away to win by a wide margin over Dennis Norman of Great Britain. And Chrysler broke 10 seconds, 9.7 seconds, better than 137 miles an hour on motorcycles, mind you, over the quarter-mile drag strip. The NHRA Nationals will continue in just a moment as we'll have a look at the funny car quarterfinals. These are the funny cars. In effect, they are short version AA fuel dragsters with plastic bodies, and Don Prudhomme is everywhere today. He owns this car. It'll be driven by Jay Howell, and here Don turns crew member as he pours the solution down for Howell to burn in his tires, heat them up, and move into the starting line area. The funny car is capable of going over 200 miles an hour. It's very light. The bodies are made of plastic. Don Shoemaker has been one of the hot fellows all across the country, match racing and in the national competition as well throughout this year. Shoemaker's car is a Barracuda, and so is the car that Howell will be driving, a Barracuda. And Shoemaker has been very, very steady in all of the competition leading up to the funny car quarterfinals. Buster Couch is the starter. Watch him explode off that starting line. I mean, they leap out of there. Shoemaker at the top end pulls away to a comfortable win, 7.07 seconds. Elapsed time better than 210 miles an hour for the winner, Shoemaker. So Don Prudhomme, himself a winner just moments ago, watches his Barracuda lose in the funny car quarterfinals. In case you wonder why these are called funny cars, the reason for that's very simple. A few years ago, when they first came on the scene as an experimental class, the public address announcer called them a funny car. The name stuck. No one's come up with a better one yet. Now we see Bruce Larson and Bobby Wood. That's Bobby Wood, covered up by the smoke as he heats up his tires in a Chevy 2, the red one, really steaming things up. That Chevy 2 has Chrysler power, incidentally. He'll be running in the near lane, and Bruce Larson and the Camaro will be in the far lane. They're ready to go. And it's Larson in the far lane, the winner, 7.16 seconds, 206 miles an hour. Bobby Wood, 7.22 seconds elapsed time. A close loser. Bruce Larson goes to the semifinals in the funny car. Right now, we're going to have a look at the Pro Stockers. Now, visually, these may look very much like the cars you've just seen, but they are quite different. For one thing, the Pro Stocker is required to keep the steel shell that came when the car rolled out of the factory. It must not be changed. The steel shell must remain and there is a minimum weight of 2,700 pounds. They are allowed to make certain lightweight modifications, but they must stay above that weight minimum. They are hot, but not as hot as the funny car. Herb McCandless right here in the near lane in the Soxon Martin entry against Bob Yowell. McCandless in the Duster defeats Bob Yowell in the Plymouth in the far lane, and the time for McCandless, 10.02 seconds. For Yowell, 10.14 seconds. Again, very close. This is how close. McCandless won it right at the finish line. Meantime, back in the pits, let's spend a moment with Don Prudhomme and his wife, Lynn.
I hope so.
Huh?
I hope so. 2 years in a row.
Yeah. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, babe. We'll have to see.
Pardon me?
I say we'll have to see. We just heard a piston over there a little while ago. We're changing it right now.
Should we walk around?
Well, I got my boys doing it.
Top gas. The only difference, the fundamental difference between this machine and the AA fuel dragster that we saw a few minutes ago, this one runs on pumped gasoline. The fuel dragster runs on a mixture of nitromethane and alcohol. A big twin Chrysler powerhouse moving to the staging area. Ray Moats is the driver. Jerry Glynn in the single-engine machine. And a handful of twin-engine gas dragsters running here this week at the Nationals, and all of them have performed very well. They give away weight and quickness to get more power. Looks like Moats may have blown an engine. I think he may have won the race, too, and Moats is out of control. How about that for a piece of driving? He doesn't have much room in which to maneuver. Obviously, he cooked an engine, but a great piece of work by Ray Moats to keep his dragster under control, and he brings it safely to a stop at the end of the quarter-mile run. Well, I guess if you're going to let it all hang out, this is the place, and that's how close the finish was. 7.25 seconds for Moats, the winner. Glenn, 7.27 seconds. He was the loser. So Moats is still in it, despite the fact he has blown an engine. You're watching the NHRA Nationals on ABC's Wide World of Sports from Raceway Park, Indianapolis, Indiana. This is Keith Jackson, and we continue our coverage of the Top Gas quarterfinals. Running in the near lane will be Roger Rowe. In the far lane, Chevy-powered Richie Schott, Top Gas quarterfinals. Both men have been very quick so far in their competition. Schott running with Chevy power, hoping to get a little more reliability than he has had in the past, perhaps giving away a little horsepower to get that reliability, but that does not necessarily follow because the traction is so tremendous here at Raceway Park. Schott shutting down at the middle of the strip, and Roger Rowe runs away to win in an elapsed time of 7.42 seconds. 7.42, and he got some kind of a start. He was so far out in front halfway down the strip, I think that Richie Schott realized there was no way he was going to catch him. And I think it's worth taking another look at what the drag racers call a hole shot. That's when the man gets off so quick, like that, he's gone. Almost impossible to catch him. All right, now we go into the Top Fuel quarterfinals. And here comes Big Daddy Don Garlett. He's won this event 3 times. He's won 5 national championships. He'll be running against Bob Ibbott. Don Garlits, I'm sure most of you know, sustained a severe injury to a foot, lost part of it, in an accident in California. Here he is, one of the great innovators, one of drag racing top figures, Don Garlits, back in the middle of it. If you want to see a pro start, watch this one. A great start by Garlits. He beat his man off the line. Touchdown halfway through, wins easy. 7.07 seconds for Garlits in beating Bob Ivitt. Garlits will go to the semifinals, beating the winner of the Jim Nicol-Marshall Love match, which is upcoming. He has won this event 3 times, 67, 68 back-to-back, and that's the feat that Don Prudhomme would like to duplicate. And meantime, in the pits, the tension is really growing where Don Prudhomme is at work. Quarterfinals, Don Prudhomme, the same thing over and over. On goes the safety equipment. The routine remains pretty much the same. How about the car? Has it been routine with it?
Well, everything's going pretty good so far. We just ran a 643. There's a low AT, and as long as the engine can stand up, we can win the meet. I don't know, though. We're going to have to run awfully hard, though.
Competition requires hard running here this year, doesn't it?
Oh, it gets tougher and tougher every year. I'll tell you, it's just really hard to stay on top.
Getting so much out of an engine, demanding so much, diminishes the reliability factor, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The engine's fresh. When it comes into the race, it's good for about 5 runs, and it's dead.
As he turns to continue the work with his crew, readying himself for the upcoming semifinals. Again, I'll say the tension is reflected visibly. You can never be too ready when you're going to go streaking down a quarter-mile stretch of concrete at 225 or 30 miles an hour in less than 7 seconds. There's the wife, Lynn, right by his side. The crowds that sometimes have grown so thick around the working area that they've had to ask marshals to move them away. Back on the staging area, a key match between Marshall Love of Arlington, Texas, and Jim Nicol of Spring Valley, California. A couple of tested veterans who have been so close to tasting the glory of a national championship. And it's a big moment for both men. Jim Nicol will be in the near lane. Marshall Love in the far lane. Both have been under 7 seconds in their last 4 runs. It's Jim Nicol at the top end, 6.59 seconds, and both men release their chutes late, way down the strip, and look at them bounce around. And they use all of the run-out area. Nicol, 6.59 seconds, 227 plus miles an hour. Marshall Love in losing at a 6.62, 227.2 seconds. Wow, what a tough way to lose. We mentioned earlier they look like figures out of some fantasy, but every piece of equipment they wear is needed and necessary, and particularly the mask when those fumes come blasting back into their face. We'll see Don Prudhomme and Pete Robinson right after this timeout. The temperature is now risen to better than 90 degrees. A sultry, hot, sticky day. Sneaky Pete Robinson, Atlanta, Georgia, has heated his tires, and he moves up onto the starting line. This is a crafty, tough veteran. Burning his tires, and watch how they expand as they come out of the bleach box. Don Prudhomme comes into the near lane. One time they used just plain bleach. Now they've gone to some very sophisticated substances to increase the traction. The way the rubber is burned into this track here at Raceway Park in Indianapolis, they don't need a whole lot of help for traction. This is a big match in the Top Fuel quarterfinals. Robinson and Prudhomme. Pete got out of shape. just after the start. Eased off. Prudhomme wins it. Listen to the lap time. 6.45 seconds for Don Prudhomme. 208 miles an hour. Pete Robinson, 6.64 seconds. Elapsed time. His speed, about 207 miles an hour. So Don Prudhomme stays in it. And we'll be back for more later at Indianapolis. But right now, let's rejoin Jim McKay at Val d'Isère, France. The men's downhill skiing. Thanks very much, Jim, and I wish we had some of that snow and cool air here at Indianapolis Raceway Park as we continue our coverage of the National Hot Rod Association Nationals. You're looking into the pits of Don Prudhomme. He is just moments away from his semifinal race against Brian Budd. They are putting the car back together, afraid to gamble that everything might not be just right. His wife, Lynn, everybody who is part of this group, who could help, who can help, has been pushed into service on a stifling hot afternoon.
We're going to try one more run with these
A
tires.
cool, wet towel is mighty welcome.
Don't even.
They'll button the car up as fast as possible now, having made some changes in the engine. And just moments from now, Prudhomme will be wheeled onto the staging area for his semifinal match. Meantime, there is action at the staging lane. Jim Nichols moving into the near lane from Spring Valley, California. He's going against Don Garlits of Cessna, Florida. Garlits almost a living legend as far as the NHRA Nationals are concerned. A three-time winner. Jim Nichols has never won a big one, but he has been close, and he's had a good season. And it's strictly shootout time right now with Big Daddy. The winner here goes to the Top Fuel Finals. Garlits in the far lane, Nickel in the near lane. The big crowd all standing. And the red light is shining in Don Garlits' lane. You won't see that very often, but Don Garlits has drawn a red light. He left too soon. Perhaps it was the bite of the track, the incredible traction you get here at Raceway Park. Whatever, Don Garlits has been eliminated by a foul, and thus ends his comeback to racing after his severe accident. But he made it to the semifinals, and he is still tough. Jim Nickel is the winner, and we'll have more in a moment. All right, here we go with the last of the semifinal runs in the Top Fuel category. Jim Nickel has already won his way into the finals. The winner of this one between Don Prudhomme, moving up to burn his tires, against Brian Budd, who moves into the near lane. Brian Budd was the low qualifier, rolled off the truck a couple of days ago and turned in a 6.66 seconds. Elapsed time is better than 212 miles an hour, and nobody could beat him in the qualifying. And he has made his way to the semifinals. You would think at this juncture, however, Don Prudhomme might enjoy a psychological edge because Budd has not had the experience of Prudhomme nor the winning history. Very ticklish up on that starting line, and both men know it. Literally laden with fatigue. They have struggled and fought their way to this moment. And just a few seconds from now, it's going to be all over for one of them. Prudhomme in the far lane, Budd in the near lane. Red light on Brian Budd. Don Prudhomme is in the finals against Jim Nickel. Budd, realizing he had to get off quick, let it go too quick. He saw the red light himself and shut his equipment off and coasts on through the trap. And Don Prudhomme will be going against Jim Nickel for the Top Fuel Championship here at the Nationals. The Pro Stockers now will come wheeling around the corner. Arlen Banke of Akron, Ohio, in a Plymouth Duster, running against Herb McCandless of Burlington, North Carolina. He is in the Stockton Martin Duster right here. Both these men have been absolutely superb so far. Their starts have been impeccable. Their equipment is at a peak. This could be one of the quickest pro stock races you have ever seen. Colin Banky won here in 1968 at the Nationals, winning the Super Stock Championship. But this pro stock category is a little hotter. Red, white, and blue is McCandless. Banky's on the far side. Pro stock title on the line right now. They're shifting all the way through, and it is close. And it's McCandless the winner. 9.981 seconds. And hear this, Banky, 9.983 seconds, and both men get 138.03 miles an hour for their top speed. And let's take another look. The top speed is measured in the last 66 feet at the very end of the course, and you can see McCandless won it by the smallest of margins. You never been so happy in your life, Herb? Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That's the first big one for you, huh?
Yes, sir, in the pro stock, I'm really happy. I just don't know what to say.
Ronnie Sox will be sitting down under that tree kind of green.
Yeah, Ronnie's, he had some transmission trouble. It's just one of those things. I'd rather be lucky and fast a lot of times.
Really had to put the pressure on equipment this year, though, didn't you?
Yes, we really did. We really pushed the cars hard. This was the toughest field of cars I've ever seen.
Herb, you did a great job. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir.
So the young man from Burlington, North Carolina, Herb McCandless, wins his first major title at 27 years of age in the Sox and Martin Duster.
And now we move into...
Now the final run for the motorcycles, running for the first time at the NHRA Nationals. It'll be Boris Murray of Laverne, California, on a Triumph in the far lane, running against Larry Welch of Chevrolet, Maryland. He is on a Triumph in the near lane. Murray has the quicker time so far in the competition of the two at 9.49 seconds. Welch at 9.51. They'll put it out here right now. In the finals, Buster Couch taking a good look. This is something new for everybody who's been coming to the NHRA Nationals for years here at Indianapolis. Burning the tires halfway through the quarter mile, and it is Welch at the top end. Listen to this. 9.34 seconds for Larry Welch, 161 plus miles an hour. Boris Murray at 9.14, but Welch beat him with a hole shot. We'll be back to talk with the Top Fuel finalists Jim Nickel and Don Prudhomme in a moment.
9.49.
Jim, you put it together yourself? You've come to the end of a long, hard week. What are you thinking right about now?
Well, I feel fortunate to get this far. It's been a heck of a good race all the way. Everybody's run good. It's been a terrific race. One of the best races I've ever been to, I guess.
Actually been an incredible meet, hasn't it?
Certainly has.
What do you think it'll take to win?
Oh, I wouldn't even want to say.
Good luck, huh?
Yeah, take a lot of luck, that's for sure.
Most fellas say, I drive my own race. I'm running the clock, and then we'll see what happens to the other guy. Is that pretty much the way you go at it?
That's basically the way you have to feel about it. You know, Prudhomme's a very good runner and a heck of a good driver, so we'll just have to see what happens and so on.
It takes a little what you call gut toughness when you come up in this moment, doesn't it?
That and a little lady luck, yeah.
Jim, good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Jim Nickel from Spring Valley, California is certainly not an unknown factor. Prior to this meet, the national dragster in handicapping the field made particular note that he had been a consistent performer and been so close to winning one of the big ones. It also made note of the fact that he has been running some real hot stuff in his equipment, but he did come in as one of the listed favorites. Jim Nickel, to be reckoned with by Don Prudhomme.
Don, you happy as you go to the finals?
Oh, boy, I'm very happy. I want to do it 2 times in a row. That make me a 5-time national champion, and I'll tie it with Gartlett.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
So the Top Fuel finalists are headed for the staging lanes. We're not far away from the exciting climax to one of the most successful national meets ever for the NHRA here at Indianapolis. But right now, we're going to watch the Top Gas Final. Jack Jones of San Diego, California, will be in the far lane. Roger Rowe of Los Angeles will be in the near lane. Jack Jones is also trying for a second successive title here at the Nationals. He won the Top Gas title last year. Victory here today could be worth right at $10,000 for the winner. Rowe and Jones, both veterans, both cool, both very quick off the line. This race will probably be won either on the start or somewhere in the middle. Neither man has had to really extend his equipment to win at the top end so far. Jones on the far side, and Roger Rowe on the near side. And the Christmas tree is lit. And it's Jack Jones with a great start, 7.41 seconds for the quarter-mile run for Jack Jones. The speed not a particular factor in this instance because Jones got such a great start that he was well out in front halfway down and zipped across to win his second successive Top Gas title here at Indianapolis Raceway Park in the Nationals. So there is jubilation in the San Diegans' pits, and here comes the crew racing down pit road. There was a time when you could win this championship and go home with $1,000, but not anymore. Today, there is 10 times that amount guaranteed. And here's the crew. Now we go to the bomb. The white car is Leroy Goldstein. He was the first man to run a funny under 7 seconds. And here at Raceway Park in this meet, he has had 4 runs in less than 7 seconds in his funny car. Don Shoemaker in this blue and white machine has been so consistent, it's remarkable. The question is, will raw power in the Ram Chargers machine with Leroy Goldstein be enough? Or will the consistency of Shoemaker pay off? This event worth about $11,000 for the winner. Remember, the funny cars run on fuel, nitromethane and alcohol. Same kind of stuff the top fuelers fly on. Here they go. Leroy Goldstein lost traction. You saw that big puff of smoke? His tires were spinning, and it was that fraction of a second that let Shoemaker get out in front and win it. Shoemaker's having trouble with his chute, got tangled up, but he holds it under control. And he pulls off the track. He's got a fire. There's a fire inside Don Shoemaker's car. The body is plastic. Shoemaker's outfit in a hurry. Up goes the hood. The extinguisher's on, and here comes help for him. Don Shoemaker has won the Funny Car Championship. He has an extinguisher inside, and obviously when he first saw the fire, he popped it. They were quick there to help him. Excuse me? All right. He's fine.
Kind of hot? Very. What let go? Well, we burned a couple of pistons, I'm sure, on the run. We blew some oil out of the breathers. Catches on fire on the headers, and then I hit the fire extinguishers.
Didn't hurt the climax, though. Victory's still sweet, isn't it?
That's for sure.
Incredible performance by the funny cars. There must have been moments when you wondered if you weren't kind of wandering around on the ragged edge during the whole meet.
We've been on the ragged edge the whole meet, I'm sure, all of us.
Well, you hung on, did a great job. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
7 seconds flat, 215 miles an hour for Don Shoemaker. The top fuel final, Prudhomme and Nickel, coming up.
They come around the turn, and the first one to the blue spot is Don the Snake Prudhomme.
This is it. This is the climax to all of the hard work, the frustration, the sleepless nights. The climactic moment for the NHRA Nationals, Don Prudhomme, the snake from Granada Hills, California. Jim Nickel, experienced veteran from Spring Valley, California. The day started near 4 a.m. for both these men on this day. Steaming hot weather has given them both fatigue, bone tiredness. They're as high right now as they can possibly be for a golden moment in drag racing. The highest payoff ever for the top fuel dragsters. The biggest crowd in the history of the Nationals watching. The near lane, Don Prudhomme. The far lane, Jim Nickel. They are both staged. Nickel's off first. Prudhomme. Oh, my God. Jim Nickel's car. Jim Nickel's car has literally been sawed in half. The front end of it has skidded all the way down to the runout area.
Let's go down there.
Prudhomme braking heavily, his parachute behind him. But Nickel's car, cut in half, there is the driver's cage. It caromed at least 350 feet down the track and bounced over into the grass. Don Prudhomme climbing out of his car. He appears to be all right. It was Jim Nickel's car that came apart. Again, I'll say that Don Prudhomme appeared to be all right. He is now climbing out of his fire suit.
There's no back section on it or nothing. How bad is he? It's on 8. Seen that car come by. The nose of the car went right in front of me, and then I thought, my God, there was no back section of the car, and I followed it right down here. I couldn't believe it. It was a ball of fire. I couldn't believe it.
Don Prudhomme in his anguish right now, not at all concerned with the fact that he won his second successive championship. That's the front end of Jim Nickel's car that came all the way to the end of the runout area. And we understand that Jim Nickel was conscious when taken out of the roll cage and put in the ambulance, now on the way to the hospital. We'll be back to check on his condition and talk with Don Prudhomme in just a moment. The crowd is gathered around what's left of Jim Nickel's car, disintegrated in the final run for the Top Fuel Championship. The word from the hospital is that Jim Nickel will be at the victory banquet tonight. He'll be a little sore, but he's all right. That's marvelous news, incredible news, considering the extent of the accident. And here's the finish, how terribly close it was. Prudhomme winning by a yard. 3/100ths of a second at 231 miles an hour.
It won't matter. You look all right. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I know you, like thousands of us, were shaken by what happened to Jim Nickel.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable. I'll tell you, we were coming towards the lights, and he was right next to me. I didn't know who was going to win the race.
And then I knew I was in the finish lights, and I was getting a little dust back on me, a little oil back on me. And I opened the chute, and I got my goggles down a little bit where I could see. And the next thing I know, his car was in front of mine. If my chute hadn't opened, I'd have hit him for sure, or hit what was remaining of his car.
Well, I know when you got out of the car, you said, I'm going to quit. That's a tough thing for a 5-time national champion to say.
Yeah, well, that's the way I feel right now. I'll tell you, things are getting too tough, and I just don't know what's going to happen. But I'd sure like to thank all my sponsors that have brought us this far to win all these meets. And one's Hot Wheels, Goodyear, and Coca-Cola, you know.
Don, I've never seen you so fatigued as you were before you started this final.
Yeah, it's been a long tour. We just ended up, this is our last date, and we're on our way home, and we've had 2 cars, a funny car, a Hot Wheel car we've been running, and it's just really been a strain on us, really.
You've got to be one of the toughest critters I've ever seen.
Well, thank you very much. I'm just very happy tying Garlitz's mark now that I won 5 national events, and that makes me just super happy.
6:45, Don's a great final run. You're a fine sportsman. Go get some rest.
Thank you very much.
And thus, the NHRA Nationals come to a close at Raceway Park. An incredible chapter in the growth of this sport. Incredible that Jim Nickel should survive the accident we saw and be making plans right now to attend the victory banquet. Record speed, record money, record crowds at the NHRA Nationals. The executive producer of ABC's Wide World of Sports is Roone Arledge. Coordinating producer, Jim Spence. National Drag Racing produced by Bryce Weissman. Directed by Bernie Hoffman. World Cup Skiing produced by Doug Wilson. Directed by Robert Rieger. Remember, coming up next here on ABC, except for those of you on the West Coast, the East-West College All-Star Football Game. And next Saturday here on ABC's Wide World of Sports, the 25th Annual Hula Bowl Football Classic, live and in color via satellite from Honolulu, beginning at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And now this is Keith Jackson saying so long from Indianapolis, Indiana. Today's program pre-recorded.